Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 10-team PPR mock draft from the 4th overall spot over on Sleeper. The roster positions for today's mock draft are 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex spots, a kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. But before we could get on into this mock draft, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into this 10-team PPR mock draft from the 4th overall spot. Now, the 4th overall spot is very interesting because of how my draft strategy goes in 10-team leagues. If you guys have watched 10-team PPR mock drafts or half PPR mock drafts from me, you would know that I am someone who is looking to draft Travis Kelce in the first round because I feel as though having that positional advantage at tight end is way more important in a 10 or 8-team league compared to a 12-team league. And the reasoning behind that is because in a 10-team league, everyone's going to have these loaded running backs. Everyone's going to have stacked wide receivers, but not everyone is going to have Travis fucking Kelce. Not everyone is going to have potentially Mark Andrews, right? One of these upper echelon tight ends. And the same thing is going to be true at quarterback. Not everyone's going to have Josh Allen, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, one of these guys who could finish as the quarterback 1 at the end of the season. So I think in 10-team leagues, the onesie positions being the quarterback and the tight end are more important. But the question is for us at the 104, would I rather have Travis Kelce, Jamar Chase, or Tyreek Hill? Because for me, I actually think the 5th or 6th overall pick is my favorite in a 10-team league. Because if someone takes Kelce, then it's no sweat off my back. I won't get him. It is what it is. But if he falls to me at that spot, I am much more likely to take him. This draft began with Jefferson, McCaffrey, then Austin Eckler. At this spot, it would hurt my soul deeply not to go with Jamar Chase, but I recognize how much I've talked about this strategy about Travis Kelce and how important it actually is. Now, if we end up drafting Kelce here, and then we get back to the 3.4 and Mark Andrews is available, I am definitely going to be a little bit disappointed because I probably would rather have Jamar Chase, whoever I get in the 2nd round, and then Mark Andrews over having Travis Kelce and then my 2nd and my 3rd round pick, but you never really know, right? Do we want to play the risky game? I think this time we're just going to go with Travis Kelce. Normally, I would go Jamar Chase in this spot, but it really is such a toss-up. We're going to go with Travis Kelce this time at the 1.4. This decision would be made significantly easier if instead of Austin Eckler or Christian McCaffrey, one of these robots ended up taking Jamar Chase. So we're going with Travis Kelce at this spot. Again, Travis Kelce is basically a wide receiver that you can play at tight end. He's the number 1 receiver on the Kansas City Chiefs on what might be the best offense in the NFL with the best quarterback in the NFL. Not rocket science as to why you would like Travis Kelce. After Travis Kelce, we see Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Bijan Robinson, and Saquon Barkley. The 2nd opens with CeeDee Lamb, Pat Mahomes, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Adams, and 9-inch Nicholas Chubb. Now, while I did talk up the onesie positions, right, maybe getting a little freaky, drafting a quarterback early, in the 2nd round, I feel like you are missing out on so much value if you take Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts over guys that are still available, right? Instead of Patrick Mahomes, this team could have started Bijan, Devontae Adams, Bijan, A.J. Brown, Bijan, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? I just would feel a lot more confident in my team that way, and then maybe you just hope in the 3rd round you're able to secure one of the other quarterbacks, and if you can't, maybe you just pull the trigger a little earlier on Lamar Jackson or on Justin Fields, who I think could be the number 1 quarterback at the end of the season. So I definitely don't agree with going with Mahomes in the 2nd round, but it really does feel like in a lot of your guys' leagues, Mahomes and maybe even the other big 3 quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Hurts, might be gone by the end of the 2nd round. So we got Kelce looking at the board here. Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Garrett Wilson, Josh Jacobs, Jalen Waddle, Tony Pollard, best available players. For me, this is a no-brainer. It is between Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Jalen Waddle, and Tony Pollard. Derrick Henry I like as well, but there's no way I'm taking Derrick Henry over Tony Pollard in a PPR league. I think that Tony Pollard is going to be the clear #1 running back on this Dallas Cowboys team. Obviously, with Zeke gone, he's playing off the franchise tag. He is going to get force-fed the rock in Dallas. I expect a huge year out of Dallas Goedert. I know maybe there's a chance he swings back to us in the 3rd round, but if I'm being honest with you, I don't think that's very accurate. If you got Tony Pollard in the 3rd round of your fantasy football draft, you should be laughing directly to the bank, because in my opinion, that makes zero fucking sense. With Kellen Moore now gone, I think Tony Pollard's going to see some more pass catching upside. This is a perfect situation for Mr. Tony Pollard. The only problem is, I've made this joke before, Zeke, his starting center, is now gone. You remember how good Zeke played center up against the 49ers? He was basically Jason Kelce out there. So after Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Garrett Wilson, Josh Allen, and Jalen Waddle. Again, I didn't mean to offend Tractor Cito Derrick Henry when we talked about him. I still like Derrick Henry a ton, but there is no way I'm taking Derrick Henry over Tony Pollard. Now, you know, what I said might happen, did happen. Andrews falls to us. We're obviously not taking him because we already had Kelce, but we could have ran this back with Jamar Chase, Pollard, and Andrews, and I would almost feel a little bit better about that start. Looking at the running back still available at this point, this is where things start to get gross. Now, at the 3.4 in a 12-team league, it definitely doesn't feel as gross to take Ramondre Stevenson. Zeke is now there. He's going to vulture some touchdowns. It's going to be frustrating. At the end of the day, though, I think Zeke is still a valuable fantasy player. He's got some solid pass catching upside. Zeke isn't really a crazy pass catcher. I don't think he will overtake Ramondre Stevenson in that role. It is going to be frustrating, though, when he does get vultured. So these running backs after Stevenson, Najee, Breece Hall, Etienne, Gibbs. I like Gibbs. His ADP appears to be in the 4th round in a lot of these drafts. So while I think he's fine to be drafted as a 3rd rounder, I would rather take the shot, play the ADP game, and wait for him at the 4.7. So outside of Stevenson, these running backs are just dead to me. Like, I am scared shitless to draft Najee, Breece Hall, Etienne, when there are wide receivers available like Olave, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, Calvin Ridley. I don't like DK Metcalf or Debo, but they're still available. At this range, though, I don't really feel like any of these wide receivers are really calling out to me except for Calvin Ridley. The problem is I don't think Calvin Ridley is going to come back to me in the 3rd round. But I think for this draft, we are going to start off very unique, right? We went Travis Kelce early, so we are going to go double onesie position early. In a 10-team league, I think this could be a really solid strategy because, again, maybe our running backs and wide receivers won't be as strong, but it's a 10-team league. It's a lot easier to make up at those positions compared to a 12-team league. Because if you draft Kelce and Hurts in the first 3 rounds of your 12-team league, it's going to be a lot harder to make up at running back, a lot harder to make up at wide receiver. But in a 10-team league, since there's less teams, it should be a lot easier. So after Hurts, we see Chris Olave, Devontae Smith, T. Higgins, Breece Hall, Mark Andrews, Najee Harris. The 4th opens with Calvin Ridley, Jahmyr Gibbs, DK Metcalf, Ramondre Stevenson, Travis Etienne, and Joe Mixon. Interesting to see Mark Andrews fall that late into the 3rd round. To me, he would be an insta-click at that point. Breece Hall going at the 3.8. He was activated off of the PUP. How confident... I'm asking you guys, how confident are you in Breece Hall? Would you draft Breece Hall right now in the 3rd round? I don't think so. I think he's going to fall into the 4th or the 5th round. I think the fact that they paid Dalvin Cook so much money, I get it's a 1-year contract. This is a 1-year issue for Breece Hall. Next season, even if Breece Hall doesn't dominate this year, 50 Shades of Grey style, I think he's still going to be a super high draft pick next year because Dalvin Cook won't be there. But right now, we have to assess this in terms of redraft. Dalvin Cook's there. They're going to give him around $8.5 million, all things said and done, if he hits those contract bonuses. That's not great. That's not great. Breece is coming off a serious injury. I think they look to ease Breece in, and I think early on in the season, you're not going to be wanting to start Breece Hall with at least a lot of confidence, especially in like a smaller league, like a 10-team league. So for me, he's a clear stay away in the 3rd round. It's going to be interesting to see where Dalvin Cook goes in this draft. I saw a screenshot of an underdog draft where he went in like the 3rd round, which I think is definitely too high. Looking at the running backs here, Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones, Dameon Pierce, Miles Sanders, Dobbins, Madison, Swift, Kamara. I would rather just wait until the 5th round, hope maybe one falls to us. If not really looking to force things at running back when we already have Tony Pollard. So we're going to go wide receiver here, and we are going to go with the best wide receiver available. It's between Amari Cooper, D-Hop, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore. We might just double tap wide receiver here with the 4-7 and the 5-4. So this time we are going to go with Keenan Allen. I am so against Deebo Samuel, man. Even my moniker of wanting to diversify my teams, right, not fully fade any player, I find it so hard to draft Deebo when Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper are still available. I get that Deebo Samuel is a talented player, but this guy is not scoring the same amount of touchdowns he scored in 2021. It's just not happening. He was such a touchdown-dependent player in 2021. He got so many rushing yards. Do you really expect him to get a bunch of rushing opportunities when Christian McCaffrey is there? I don't think so. I think the touchdowns are going to stay down. Now, maybe they won't be as low as last season, but I don't think he's going to drop 15, 16, 17 touchdowns this season, and I'm just staying away from him in the 4th round. They just have so many players on the 49ers. They have Deebo, they have Kittle, they have McCaffrey, they also have Brandon Ayuk. It's just too scary for me. After Keenan Allen, Joe Shiesty, TJ Hawkinson, Deebo Samuel, Lamar Jackson, Kenneth Walker, and Amari Cooper. So it's between running back or wide receiver here. Aaron Jones is still available, and I think in the 5th round, I like Aaron Jones a bunch. I understand that Jordan Love definitely isn't the most ideal quarterback for Aaron Jones, but I think at the end of the day, this defense is going to be good enough for them to run the ball deep into the game. Sure, they still have A.J. Dillon, but ultimately Aaron Jones is the guy. He's going to get most of the pass-catching work in the offense. A.J. Dillon doesn't really do that. Jordan Love, since he's young, I know he's been in the NFL for a couple of years, but this is really his first time actually being the starter for a couple of games in a row, which will be the whole season, as long as he doesn't get hurt, knock on wood. I expect him to take a lot of checkdowns to Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones is a sneaky pick this season. If he goes a little bit earlier than the 5th round, I guess where I took Allen, I would be comfortable taking Aaron Jones, but I'd probably lean, if it was Allen versus Jones, I'd probably take an Allen there most of the time, especially with how we built our team, right? We had Tony Pollard early to where I'm pretty comfortable with our running back core. After Aaron Jones, we see DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin, George Kittle, me Timbers, Justin Fields, Jerry Jeudy, Justin Herbert, the pervert. The 6 opens with DJ Moore, wiki, Miles Sanders, Dameon Pierce, Christian Watson, Kyle Pitts, and Trevor Lawrence. So we're up at the 6.7 here. Again, I do like some of these running backs, but now that we have 2 running backs with how this league is set up with 2 flexes and 2 wide receiver spots, it is time to go to metaphorical pound town on the wide receiver position. Best receivers available: Drizzy, Drake London, Chris Godwin, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Pittman, Tyler Lockett in my pocket skirt, Mike Williams, Christian Kirk. Mike Williams kind of off the board for me. He wasn't a guy that I was targeting in a lot of drafts anyways, but now that I have Keenan Allen in a redraft league, I get stacking. Right? It makes it so you have to get less things right. If you draft Herbert and you draft Keenan Allen, that means that instead of getting 2 things right, you only have to get 1 thing right, because if Herbert smashes, most likely so does Keenan Allen. But we're not drafting Justin Herbert here. He's already been taken off the board, so I don't want to take 2 wide receivers in the same team, at least this high, right? If I could get Quentin Johnston super deep in the draft, sure, I'd be fine adding him, but I don't want my 4th and my 6th or my 4th and my 7th round pick to be on players on the same team if I'm not even going to go full-on balls deep, right, and select the quarterback. So we're going to go receiver here. We are going to lean with Drizzy Drake London. Now, Drake London is definitely a big question mark, right? If you want a safe wide receiver here, you can go with Pittman or Lockett. I think they're a lot safer, but Drake London has a lot of upside, right? He should be the wide receiver 1 in this Atlanta Falcons offense. The problem is they're not very pass heavy, and the problem is the fact that Desmond Ridder sucks donkey cock. But at the end of the day, if Desmond Ridder is just somewhat decent, Drake London will be able to catch a bunch of passes. He's a talented player. They just have a lot of cooks in the kitchen. They got Pitts, they got London, they got Bijan Robinson, Robinson. I love the talent of Drake London, but I am very comfortable acknowledging that he is far from a safe pick, right? And I talk about this a bunch in these drafts. The deeper you get into the draft, the less safe I want to be. Early on, I'm wrapping 3 condoms around the squad, but deeper and deeper into the draft, I want to take more risks. I'm hunting for more upside, especially late, right? I don't need some wide receiver that's going to get 9 points per game every single game. I would rather take the shot on a guy that might score 3 points per game and has the upside to get maybe 18 points, right? Be a league winner super deep in the drafts. After Drizzy, Drake London, Alexander Madison, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, Michael Pittman Jr., Tyler Lockett in my pocket skirt, and Dallas Goedert. I was really hoping to get Lockett with this pick. I'm a huge fan of Lockett this season. And again, based upon our draft, the one good thing about going quarterback and tight end with 2 of our first 3 picks is now I just never have to worry about them. Right? I don't have to decide between, which guy do I like better? Do I like Freiermuth better? Do I like Schultz better if I really wait? Do I like Kincaid better? Right? I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about the risk of Tua's injury. I know Anthony Richardson is going to be the starter on the Indianapolis Colts. They announced that yesterday. But if I draft Richardson, do I really want to play Richardson week 1 of his rookie year? Now, I know he has this insane rushing upside, but I'm probably pigeonholed into drafting 2 quarterbacks in that scenario. So now we're good with just drafting 1, right? You pay up for one of these great quarterbacks, don't draft a second one. If you pay up for one of these tight ends that you really like, even if you're paying up for Goddard in the 7th round, Pitts in the 6th round, even if Pitts might seem like a huge red X, like that show that Simon Cowell is on, if you know, you know. I don't remember what it's called. Is it America's Got Talent? Something like that. Even if Pitts might be a bit of stranger danger for you, I'm still not really going to pull the trigger on a second tight end. If I go and I draft Kmet, maybe I want to match Kmet with Dulcich, which I don't want to do. I don't want to draft Dulcich, but Kmet and Higbee, Kmet and Sam Laporta. So we're up on the clock here again. We don't really need a running back in this range. I am as out on Alvin Kamara as it gets. We are going receiver. Chris Godwin has fallen like Joe Biden riding a bicycle, and we are going to go with Chris Godwin here at value. I've seen Godwin go in some Fantasy Pros drafts in like the 5th round. I think that's just absolutely crazy. I know I've talked about how I think Baker and this offense might be better than people think, but in the 5th round, I know Godwin's going to get a lot of targets, but that's just way too high for me. Just way too high. And honestly, that point is a good lesson about fantasy football. While I may not love a player in fantasy football, when they fall a certain amount, like Humpty Dumpty off the wall, you are eventually going to feel confident in drafting them. Say I really dislike Deebo Samuel, and I do. If he falls into the 5th round, the middle of the 5th round, then at some point, I don't feel he's as risky, right? So that's kind of just how I feel about things, right? Godwin in the 5th round, no. Hey, don't touch me there. That is my no square. Godwin in the 7th round. Very nice. I like. At number 7.5, we see James Conner, followed by Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Marquise Hollywood, Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Cam Akers. The 8th opens with Mike Williams, Mike Evans, Isaiah Pacheco, Diggy, Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, and Javon Williams. So again, we're still in a spot to just keep hammering wide receivers to be our second flex option. Best guys available: Christian Kirk, Jackson Smith-Njigba, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Jordan Addison-Ray, Jahan Dotson. I haven't drafted Christian Kirk really a lot in these drafts. I saw that there was some worries about maybe Zay Jones starting ahead of him in 2 wide receiver sets. We'll see how valid that is going forward through the next couple of preseason games. If that is actually true and that wasn't some Fugazi news that I read on Twitter, then obviously you might want to be a little bit more worried about Christian Kirk. But right now, when you read things like that, I'm not going to full-on panic yet, right? If that becomes true, then there's obviously reason to panic. After Christian Kirk, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Deontay Johnson, Darren Waller, great value in the 8th round, David Montgomery, Rashad with 2 A's White, and Jordan Addison-Ray. Now is about the time where I would start to look at another running back, because at a certain point, the running backs start to get to the point where it's like, yeah, I like the upside of that player, but in a pinch, would I really want to start them? Like, for instance, Samaje Perine. I think he could be good if Javonte Williams gets hurt, but if Javonte Williams is healthy, do I really want to start Samaje Perine in a pinch? Whereas James Cook, the #1 running back on the Buffalo Bills, great pass catching upside, looked good in that preseason game, has turned heads at training camp. I would rather draft James Cook. He should be the #1 running back on the team. Now, I know Josh Allen doesn't dump the ball off a crazy amount. He would rather run the ball himself, but at the end of the day, I still feel pretty confident in James Cook based upon where he goes. Again, a lot of that risk, a lot of those question marks about what Josh Allen is going to do is taken away by the fact that he goes later in drafts. After James Cook, we see Pat Freiermuth, followed by Treylon Burks, Jahan Dotson, Evan Ingram, George Pickens, A.J. Dillon, Michael Thomas, Kadarius Toney, Antonio Gibson, Quentin Johnston, Brandon Cooks, and Brian Robinson. Kadarius Toney's picture on Sleeper will give you fucking nightmares. If you weren't scared right now, you're gonna be scared, because look at this, bro. He is staring directly into my soul. It's like the Mona Lisa where you move and it's still looking at you. That's exactly how I feel about that picture of Kadarius Toney. There's nothing as creepy, though, as that video of Toney. If you guys haven't seen it, look this up, where he says, Pat Mahomes. If you've never seen that video, you gotta watch it. It is funny as fuck. His face literally looks insane. I don't like Kadarius Toney, but his interaction with Giants fans on Twitter is also funny as fuck. Like, these Giants fans are DMing him shit, and he's just going back and forth with them, which I guess, if you're an athlete, like, why are you going back and forth with some random fan? But at the same time, I'm never going to DM some random, like, even on the Dolphins, right? If the Dolphins lost the Super Bowl, knock on wood that doesn't happen, right? If Tyreek Hill dropped the game-winning touchdown, I would never go into Tyreek Hill's DMs and be like, fuck you, this, that, and the other thing, right? I'd be happy we made the Super Bowl. So, I don't know. It's a little weird when fans attack players, especially for things like fantasy. If some player has a bad game, don't go attack them on Twitter. Maybe tweet about it like, damn, I'm pissed off at this guy, but don't tweet it at them, you know? They don't need to see that shit. They're already probably pissed off they had a bad game. So, looking at the board here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers, 3 running backs, a quarterback, and a tight end. For me, it's pretty clear here that we're going to end up going with a running back and a wide receiver with our next 2 picks. My confidence in the wide receivers, like Mike Tyson, coming back here, I'm fine with a lot of these receivers. I'm fine with the running backs as well. None of these guys are really sticking out, though, at wide receiver to me, except for Elijah Moore. His ADP on Sleeper is just hilarious. Sleeper is metaphorically sleeping on him. Again, I'm a huge fan of this Cleveland Browns offense this season. I've talked about that ad nauseum on this channel. Elijah Moore got a lot of work in that preseason game. Now, he did get banged up, something to monitor. Talk about this a bunch. You don't want to go into the season chasing the injuries, right? Drafting a bunch of guys that are hurt, because the injuries are going to find you. They always do, right? It's always going to get you. So don't go in chasing injuries. But I think based on everything I've read, Elijah Moore should be fine. I still haven't seen any updates on Rachaad White. He, got hurt in a non-contact injury. Let's see if they have anything here. Non-contact injury. His knee buckled, and they haven't said anything about it still. He said he was fine on Twitter. I don't know about that. Anytime, I've talked about this a couple times too, anytime you see where it's an injury, it's non-contact, something buckles, the cart has to come out, literally I just start shitting myself, when I read that, especially if it's a player I'm high on. I'm not high on him at all. Rachaad White, not high at all, but I am high on Pot Noose, if you get that joke from Key and Peele. That is a real old one, if you guys get that. So after Elijah Moore, Gabe Davis, Rashad with 2 A's, Penny, Zay Flowers, Juju Smith-Schuster, Corvette, David Njoku, Tua Tagovailoa, and we are up on the clock here. Gonna go with a running back. We're gonna go with Zach Charbonnet. Now, the question here is actually Charbonnet versus Herbert versus Williams. Now, Herbert will be the #1 running back on the Bears, but he has competition with Foreman as well as Rashawn Johnson. I think he's going to be the #1 running back, but you never know. Charbonnet, basically guaranteed to be the RB2, but if Kenneth Walker gets hurt, Charbonnet would instantly become this guy you need to start every week, whereas if Foreman or Rashawn Johnson get hurt, I still like playing Herbert, but I'm not, ecstatic to do it. So we have Pollard, we have Aaron Jones, we have James Cook. Guys, I feel comfortable every single week starting. So I think I would rather go with the higher upside option versus the safer option. Again, I like Herbert, I like Williams, I like Charbonnet, but I just feel like Charbonnet will legitimately put my fantasy team on his back. Darren Sharper, hold my dick, if something happened to Walker. Knock on wood, we don't root for injuries. Whereas, I don't know if Herbert's going to do that. I think Herbert's going to be fine every week, really consistent, but I don't know if he'd take me over the top like I think Charbonnet could. After that, Zach Charbonnet selection, we see Samaje Perine, Anthony Richardson, Jamal Williams, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk O'Chains, Dalton Schultz, Damian Harris, Devin 2 Chains, Cortland Sutton, Khalil Herbert, Jerick McKinnon, and Odell. If Herbert didn't go, we would have drafted him in the 12th round. Again, we don't need another quarterback. We don't need another tight end, so we're just going to draft a bunch of wide receivers and running backs until we have to select our kicker and defense. So we have 3 bench spots left, then our kicker and defense. If you play in a league where you can put a player that is suspended on the IR, I think Jameson Williams is interesting. If not, I don't really want to hog a bench spot for a guy that's suspended 6 weeks. If I draft him, I'm more than likely just going to cut him after week 1. Like, he'd be the first guy I would cut if there was some hot waiver wire option I want to spend my fab on, I want to pick up. So I'd probably just stay away from Jameson Williams if I'm being honest with you. Rashad Master Bateman still available, could be the wide receiver 1 in Baltimore. This guy has struggled to stay healthy his whole career, but I think if there ever was a season where he does stay healthy with that huge play upside in that Todd Monken offense, that would be a great pick deep in drafts. I would definitely prefer to have Zay Flowers, that rookie upside, ahead of him, but based on the fact that he's going in the 12th round here, Flowers went in the 10th round, I'd definitely rather have Bateman over Odell, and Odell went 1 pick before, so we're going to go with Rashad Master Bateman. Again, a more pass-heavy offense this season under Todd Monken. After that, Cole Kmet, Geno Smith. The 49ers defense, Dalton Kincaid, Allen Lazard, the Lazard King, and Jameson Williams. Back up on the clock here, going to go with a running back. Going to go Tank. Again, dude, his ADP makes no fucking sense. He should be like a 10th round pick, but so many casuals have no idea about him. He is going to be the number 2 running back behind Travis Etienne. Etienne has struggled to catch passes at the NFL level. He struggled on the goal line. Bigsby, great on the goal line, great at catching passes. I think he's going to work in this year with Etienne, and if Etienne gets hurt, Bigsby would look like, I'd look like Albert fucking Einstein, fantasy Einstein back here at the 13th round, right? Just what a steal. He should be going much higher. I could have taken him over Elijah Moore, and I wouldn't even have thought twice about it. So after Bigsby, a bunch of kickers, bunch of defenses mixed in there. Adam Thielen, Chig, and Danny Dimes, Vanilla Vic. We are going to close this one out with a wide receiver. There's a lot of talent I still like here. A lot of talent. Rashee Rice, was he the guy who got hurt today? One of these Chiefs receivers got hurt. I don't remember who it was in training camp yesterday. I think it was Rashee Rice. Maybe it was I'm Rick James, bitch. Not telling us. Not telling us. Maybe it's not that bad. It's not telling us, but that does scare me. I know it wasn't Sky Moore. He's my favorite target on this Kansas City Chiefs offense. Again, I get the Chiefs spread the ball out a bunch. Mahomes spreads the ball out a bunch. But if you could get the Chiefs wide receiver 1 in the 14th round, you're going to feel like a genius. We are going to go, was it Justin Ross? Injury may not be serious. It was Justin Ross. It was that easy. We just clicked on every single wide receiver that it wasn't. Now, I know someone in the comment section is probably thinking, Nick, you fucking idiot. It was Justin Ross. And they're like typing it out. And then like as they're finishing typing, they saw that I found him and they delete it. Or maybe they just type it in now because they saw me talk about it. They heard me talk about it. So we're back up on the clock here. Let's not overthink things. We're going with Wiki DJ Chark, baby Chark of the Carolina Panthers. Love DJ Chark. Love trying to take an upside on Bryce Young's potential wide receiver 1. Bunch of kickers, bunch of defenses, and Elijah Mitchell came before our 15th round pick. My boy, my old bitch Lane, but my young Hoku went as well. So we're going defense. Very simple for me. You want to draft a defense, not the best defense that's there, right? You might argue right now, oh, the Packers are the best defense available. They got the Bears and Justin Fields. Now, on paper, the Packers own the Bears, but I think the page has turned on that. So we want to draft a defense playing a not-so-hot offense week 1. For me, that's the Commanders going up against the Arizona Cardinals. They're a lock to dominate in week 1, in my opinion. Doesn't matter how good you think the Commanders' defense is or isn't. They're going up against either Colt McCoy or Clayton Tune. That is a defense you want to have week 1. After the Commanders, we see Tyler Higbee, Greg Dulcich, Boyd, Tyler Algier, Sky with 2 eyes more, Sam Laporta, Jared Goff, Devin Singletary, and Jacoby Myers. And then we are going to go with a kicker. We are not going with the boy Jason Sanders because that guy sucks as a Dolphins fan. I know that. How was Graham Gano last season? I think he was pretty good. Yeah, pretty decent season out of Graham Gano last year. Let's just go with Graham Gano here. Again, I'm not really in mock drafts heavily thinking about my kicker selections. If you want to talk about it for your real draft, go ahead. But in terms of a mock draft, I'm not going to sit here for 5 minutes fucking picking through a bunch of kickers. So after Gano, Donta Foreman, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, and you like that? No, that's that's the wrong nickname. That's why I can't be recording at 1 in the morning. Russell Wilson is Mr. Unlimited. Broncos Country, let's ride. I just used the Kirk Cousins thing on Russell Wilson. That's a disgrace to Kirk Cousins, what I just did right there. So our team here, Kelsey, Pollard, Hurts, Allen, Jones, Drizzy Drake London, Chris Godwin, Christian Kirk, James Cook, Elijah Moore, Zach Charbonnet, Rashad Master Bateman, Tank Bigsby, DJ Chuck, Baby Chuck, Washington Commanders, and Graham Gano. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys thought. This is a very unorthodox draft compared to what I normally do. That's why you do mock drafts. You got to try different shit out. You don't want to just do every single draft missionary, right? Sometimes you want to do some doggy style. Sometimes you want to do some reverse cowgirl. You know what I'm saying? You try different things out. You don't want to just do the same style every single time. So thank you guys all for watching. I love you guys all so much. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you did enjoy. Shout out to the person who requested this draft, a fourth overall pick in a 10-team league. Make sure you're that person. You got to make sure you hit that like button. Going to try to do as many more drafts as possible. Going to continue to run that 12-team strategy video where we're just going to go through all of the top 12 picks, right? Draft strategy from the one hole was yesterday. Maybe tomorrow we do the 12th pick if I'm available tomorrow to make 3 videos. If not, it's coming soon. Again, we are going to be live on Sunday for 10 to 12 hours starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, ripping drafts on Underdog Fantasy. So either be there or be a square. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy.